You can listen to The Professional Left wherever you get your podcasts, on Netroots Radio, or at our website, proleftpod.com, where you can also contribute to this podcast. There's a PayPal button at our website, where you can mail us a letter and or contribution at P.O. Box 9133, Springfield, Illinois, 62791.
This is the podcast for September 9th, 2025. It's not safe for work.
Recorded live from the Cornfield Resistance, where we know you've got to listen to Roadhouse all the way through to understand its deeply hidden wisdom. It's The Professional Left with Driftglass and Blue Gal.
So gather ye all around, because today we're going to start our show with a short spiritual bath in Crow T. Robot's favorite movie.
Let's have a Patrick Swayze Christmas by Crow T. Robot.
Paul, let's have a Patrick Swayze Christmas?
Right. Hit it, Cambot.
Oh, I start. I get it.
I'm sorry.
Okay, pick it up. Open up your heart and let the Patrick Swayze Christmas in.
We'll gather at the Roadhouse with our next of kin.
Not bad.
And Santa can be our regular Saturday night thing.
We'll decorate a bar stool and gather round and sing. Oh, let's have a Patrick Swayze Christmas this year.
Or we'll tear your throat out and kick you in the ear.
Hold it a second. Cambot, stop it. Crow, I don't know if I think this is an appropriate sentiment anymore for Christmas.
Hey, what, like a good action sequence don't belong at Christmas?
Like juke joint Jesus speaking to his apostles, even the doubters. About a third of the way through Roadhouse, James Dalton gathers his beleaguered and outnumbered inner circle around him to initiate them into the holy mysteries, to show them the way.
I'm telling you straight, it's my way or the highway.
From the alert viewer to the true Roadhouse aficionado. Yeah, you will have noticed that at this point there are 12 bar employees present, plus the owner, which makes 13. You can also be pretty sure by the end of Act 1 that one of them will betray Dalton. And by the end of Act 2, he will be sorely tempted by the devil, played con mucho gusto by Ben Gazzara. But back to Dalton's beat-up apostles and the holy mysteries.
It's going to change.
Man, that sure sounds good. But a lot of the guys who come in here, we can't handle one-on-one, even two-on-one.
Don't worry about it. All you have to do is follow 3 simple rules. 1, never underestimate your opponent. Expect the unexpected. 2, take it outside. Never start anything inside the bar unless it's absolutely necessary. And 3, be nice.
Come on.
If somebody gets in your face and calls you a cocksucker, I want you to be nice.
Okay.
Ask him to walk, but be nice. If he won't walk, walk him, but be nice. If you can't walk him, one of the others will help you, and you'll both be nice. I want you to remember that it's a job. It's nothing personal.
Being called a cocksucker isn't personal?
No. It's 2 nouns combined to elicit a prescribed response.
I wonder if somebody calls my mama a whore.
Is she?
But it's remarkable how some people only remember that first part and forget the second part.
I want you to be nice until it's time to not be nice.
Well, how are we supposed to know when that is?
You won't. I'll let you know. You are the bouncers, I am the cooler. All you have to do is watch my back and each other's. Take out the trash.
And we Democrats have long since reached the second part of that timeless advice. Time to stop being nice. Time to look out for each other and take out the trash. And the thing is, that freaks the hell out of people, especially people in the legacy media, who truly believe it is the natural order of things for Republicans to always behave like lunatics and monsters, and for Democrats to always play nice and according to Hoyle.
That is sad but true, Blue Gal. And just a few days ago, in our very home where we're recording this podcast, you and I were talking about this and that, and you commented with a deep sigh that, damn it, yep, a third of this country truly is brainwashed. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. And I had to disagree with you because, nope, it's 2/3 of the country, Blue Gal, not 1/3.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start that journey together with a diamond perfect local example in which the totality of American politics is summarized in one social media exchange. It's kind of.
And I'm going to interrupt you for a moment just to say, when you said 2/3, you said 1/3 is Fox News brainwashed.
Yep.
And the other third is both sides do it brainwashed.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they're the two-front war that we're forced to fight every election. And the right knows it. They knows that no matter what happens, the third of the country is going to blame Democrats and Republicans equally because they're lazy or they're stupid or they're cowards.
Or they're terrified.
Or they're terrified of making a decision. And that is the firewall they can hide behind when they commit atrocities. When they get caught, you know it. You've heard it. You heard it on Marco Rubio doing this on the Jon Stewart show years ago.
Yeah.
Just everything out of his mouth was, well, you know, both sides. Well, you know, it really is both sides. It is both sides. And that lie is completely supported, advanced, and funded by the legacy media, and has been for 50 years or so.
And it's really interesting that J.B. Pritzker is calling it out to their faces.
Finally. So today we look at a local media personality who shall remain nameless, who took to Facebook to complain that under Trump and the Republican Congress, the cost of his health insurance and prescription drugs had just skyrocketed, gone up by some insane amount, which is going to happen to a whole lot of people, and maybe even us. Now, he's not rich, and he is in deep despair and really angry about it. But here's the kicker. He will not say the word Trump, and he will not mention Republicans. Just won't do it. Says he only wants to comment on the process, not who did what, just the process. Because, you know, there's too much emotion going on out there, Blue Gal. Too many people vote on their emotions because, you know, you shouldn't get emotional about having your rights taken away from you. That's just crazy. You should quit picking a team, man.
He literally said that on Facebook.
Yeah.
Stop picking a team.
Yeah, quit blaming both sides. Quit saying that you're a Trump guy or that you're a progressive. That's what causes all these problems in the first place. And a local wag reminded him that neutrality in the face of evil is both immoral and it's goddamn un-American, traditionally. And he replied that staying neutral was one of his job requirements.
Wow.
Oh, I see. And that moment...
I'm required by my employer to stay neutral.
Right. Oh,
whoa.
Shit. Okay. And think how many, many, many people you know who either believe that or live with that every day. And how it has affected or infected how they think about the rest of the world, because their job depends on them not taking sides in politics when they're involved in politics, or at least the fallout from political policies. Then inevitably somebody jumps in with, you know, both parties are equally terrible, yada, yada, yada.
And 1,500 likes on Facebook.
Oh, yes, both parties are terrible. You know, you just didn't have to pick one or the other. You know, left or right are equally wrong. At which point the local wag tagged out.
I think we all know who that local wag is.
And because at this point, saying anything more about in any of these conversations at this point, saying anything further about the moral responsibility of choosing right over wrong or pointing out that both sides don't is like unto making a pearl, Blue Gal. You implant a political irritant into the conversation where everyone is desperate to avoid stating the blindingly obvious facts, and just stand back and watch the excuses and the both sides do it and left and right or blah, blah, blah partisanship build up layer after layer after layer until it's nothing but a big ball of let's all not argue about who caused what. Then comes, in this conversation, blaming Barack Obama for destroying affordable health care in America.
Right.
It's all Obama's fault. It's all the black guy's fault because, and I quote, facts are facts, Blue Gal. Quote.
Facts are facts. People refuse to remember the past.
Facts
when Barack Obama destroyed affordable health care.
He did. That monster and a whole bunch of pillars of the community around here. Trump voters around here absolutely believe that. Take it as gospel. And then, of course, inevitably, one woman suggested that he try to masquerade as, quote, an illegal, unquote, because everybody knows they all get free health care, Blue Gal. That's where we live. That's where we live. And this is the state of play here in Springfield, where if you listen very carefully, you can hear Abraham Lincoln spinning in his grave at 78 rotations per minute.
Pinwheel Lincoln.
Yeah, that's what we live with.
But wait, there's more, Driftglass. There is more.
More? There's more?
Yes, there is. Take one step up from local Springfield media and Facebook to a paper with a much bigger readership, like the Chicago Tribune.
Uh-huh.
Which ran a big half-page above-the-fold editorial on page 1 of the editorial section entitled Justice for the Late Emma Schaefer of Springfield, Not Political Exploitation.
Now, may I suggest at this moment that you tell the listeners how your family used to refer to the Tribune in your home?
Oh, my grandmother said that she would not let it in her home because it would befoul the air.
So your family has a long tradition with this paper.
That was in the early 1940s.
Yeah.
During the war.
Yeah.
Because what was it? The general or I forget what
Colonel McCormick.
Colonel McCormick was so pro-neutrality.
Oh, he hated FDR too.
And he hated FDR.
That man in the White House.
And that man in the White House,
He'll be the death of us all, that man in the White House.
And, of course, my grandmother had married an Englishman and left England a widow with 2 very young children and came back to Illinois, River Forest, and had strong opinions about the Blitz.
Yeah, as one might.
As one might. Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. So
the headline, I think
the headline I agree with. Justice for the late Emma Schaefer of Springfield, not political exploitation.
100%.
Great.
Oh, great.
The quote, the killing of 24-year-old Emma Schaefer 2 years ago came as a terrible shock to the Illinois capital city of Springfield, unquote. That also is true.
100%. Yep.
Now, you may be unfamiliar with this story. Very briefly. Mm-hmm. Emma Schaefer was a beloved local activist and community organizer who was allegedly murdered in her home by her boyfriend. And her boyfriend was undocumented.
Right.
An undocumented immigrant.
Correct.
That boyfriend disappeared after her death. No one knew where he went. Mm-hmm. It was assumed he went back to Mexico. And recently, within the past month and a half or so, he was apprehended and has been extradited back to Illinois, I believe. That process is going on. I know he has been caught.
Yes.
And, we'll have to see. There's going to be DNA evidence and all of that. But it was such a devastating shock to Springfield because Emma Schaefer had done so much to make Springfield a better place.
Yes. Beloved. Really, truly beloved person.
Really, truly beloved. Gave of herself. Was always trying to make Springfield better for everyone. A very loving person. And as some of you may remember, on May 7th of this year, 2025, rendition Gulag Barbie Kristi Noem took a taxpayer-funded trip to Springfield, Illinois, where she had planned to hold a press conference in front of the governor's residence.
Yeah.
And therefore she could mouth off about Pritzker in Illinois and letting murderers, blah, 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 the whole line, And so when Springfield found out that this bitch was going to come to the governor's mansion, a number of neighbors and fellow travelers went down to the governor's house because we all know where he lives.
Yes, it's a big... I was there that morning. I took a few pictures. I participated. It's a very big house, and everyone knows where he lives.
It's a big house. It is managed and run by the state. And, well, at some other show, we will get into governors that decided not to live there. And our governor has decided to live in Springfield at the governor's mansion. Okay. Pritzker. And so the spirited public expression and general mood of the crowd was fuck right off Kristi Noem.
Right. Peaceful.
In response to her deciding to come to Springfield.
Loud and peaceful.
Yeah. And because Noem is a coward, she never showed up at the governor's mansion, and you could clearly see why. The governor was ready for her. The governor's residence was decorated in due process for all banners, and there were more than 100 protesters, and on very short notice, who showed up. Among all the signs and clackers and cowbells and air horns, Nary a single MAGA goof showed up. Not one fascist-friendly face. Instead, turns out rendition Gulag Barbie was reduced to flying all the way here to skulk away to an alley miles away with a few of her fellow fascists before beating it out of town. From the Illinois Times, quote, Homeland Secretary Kristi Noem a no-show at Governor's Mansion. Held press conference near the site of Emma Schaefer's murder. Illinois Secretary of State Alexi Giannoulias held a press conference across from the governor's mansion at 10:30 a.m. in response to Noem's visit. The combination of cowardice, incompetence, and cruelty is a very scary mix, Giannoulias said. So while I'm glad she's not here, we need to step up as a society, as a country, and as a democracy to monsters like Kristi Noem, unquote. It's like not sugarcoating it there, Alexi Giannoulias.
Yes.
From the Dominican Sisters of Springfield, Illinois, who also didn't sugarcoat it.
And
quote,
you don't mess with the Dominicans.
Don't mess with the nuns. Just don't do it. No. Quote, Kristi Noem has no right to use Emma Schaefer when her mother is across town protesting her unconstitutional approach to immigration, unquote. And this from our alderwoman. Quote, the DHS and feds picked the absolute wrong person to use as a prop today in Springfield, Illinois. Her memory and her life's work will not be defiled by the absolute ghouls who did this, and those from our community who stood by in support of doing this. In the words of our governor, may they never know a moment's peace, unquote. And this was a message from her parents, Emma Schaefer's parents. Quote, our daughter Emma radiated love and light everywhere she went and for all people. Even as a child, she was a friend to everyone and someone who spoke up for the less fortunate. She dedicated her life, her career, and her free time to causes of social justice and equity. That was just who she was. To see her used by Secretary Noem and others to advance a cruel and heartless political agenda is just not just deeply painful to us, it is an insult to her memory. Noem's words are in direct conflict with who Emma was as a person. Emma built up community and stood with all members, including immigrants. No parent should have to experience the loss of a child. But every time her name is brought into these conversations she would have wanted nothing to do with, we have to relive the pain of her death. Secretary Noem, as parents still grieving the loss of a child, we beg you to stop. This was not who she was. This is not helping us. Her memory should live in all the people she touched and the causes that she fought for. And I ask all of you to remember Emma as she was and to live your life as she did, with courageous empathy and love for all, unquote.
Right.
And basically the city of Springfield took out the trash when it came to Kristi Noem.
Absolutely. It was time to stop being nice.
Stop being nice.
Take out the trash.
Get the hell out.
And that's what they did. So this situation is so painfully clear, so obvious what's going on here, that you would think that no one could possibly both sides this situation, right? It's beyond the ability of like a legacy media outlet, let's say in Chicago.
I'm afraid I must have lost some of my faith in humanity, Driftglass, because I have a feeling somebody found a way.
Yeah, and this was not, the rest of what you're going to hear was not some guy who wrote into the Tribune. This was the editorial board of the Chicago Tribune. Because you'd be wrong. This is back to the Chicago Tribune editorial, which was this week. Quote, the suspect in her murder has been caught after he reportedly fled to his home country of Mexico, and the race is on to use Schaefer's death to advance a political agenda. Once again, the people of Illinois are bystanders in a face-off between a Trump administration eager to strike a blow against a Democrat-run state and Democrats led by Governor J.B. Pritzker who sees an occasion ripe for posturing, unquote.
They're going to put him on trial for murder. Is that posturing?
Yeah. And there we have it. There we go.
Yep.
Right there. Editorial board this week, Chicago Tribune. This officially approved, incredibly toxic, decades-long legacy media legacy when it comes to all things political.
It's their policy, right?
Both sides, it's both sides do it. Both sides have, when Democrats do it, it's just Democrats. When Rod Blagojevich was impeached, nobody said, the Republicans bear some responsibility for this.
No.
Nobody said that. But when this plain, obvious fact that Emma Schaefer was murdered, that Kristi Noem spent, taxpayer money to come to Springfield to pull a political stunt, and we objected to it. Now it's both sides. If you punch back, Blue Gal, then it's both sides.
Yep.
And the thing is, the Trib wasn't shy about calling out Noem as callous and the callous evil bitch that she is. This is continuing the article, quote, Noem's decision to stage a news conference near the house where the progressive-minded Schaefer was killed touched off a firestorm. No shit. Schaefer's family denounced the cynical use of her death to advance what it described as the Trump administration's heartless anti-immigration actions. Just as cynically, Noem claimed that Illinois policies barred state or local authorities from assisting feds in capturing the accused. That was false. Good for you, Tribune. Illinois authorities worked with U.S. Marshals Service to arrest and charge the suspect. It was full cooperation. Nobody in Illinois was balking at any of this shit.
Nobody in Illinois likes crime and murder.
After last month's arrest, Noem doubled down, issuing a news release that misspelled Schaefer's name in the headline. That's how deeply she cares. Emphasizing the difference in their immigration status, it paired a color photo of a blonde, fresh-faced Schaefer with a dark and menacing mugshot of the suspect described by Noem, without even a nod to legal due process, as a, quote, vicious, illegal alien murderer, unquote.
Well, she just fucked up the case against him.
You'd think so. But, that...
Remember
really?
Nixon and Charles Manson?
Honey, have you met the courts recently?
I know. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, these are all drumheads. But all you have to do is read a little bit further into the article, and invariably you will find the both sides do it razor in the apple, because it's always there. This is back to Tribune, quote, yet Pritzker, too, has gone way too far. His recent rhetoric personally insulting the president does not serve the state's interests, unquote.
Tisk, tisk, tisk.
Tisk, tisk, tisk. Naughty, naughty. Using strong language to describe the fascist scumbag who runs this country. Can't do that. Might be bad for the state. There might be repercussions. So I just, this is a disease. And it's a disease that is sourced in the media. And if you can't speak out against it, then you are a carrier of that disease.
It's why Trump is still president, folks.
Exactly. It's that other third.
This is from Susan Phillips, one of our righteous Methodist pastors here in Springfield. Her church is one of the ones that has been flying the rainbow flag for a really long time. And she's quoting from an analysis of a local activist named Tina Hiley, describing what many friends of Emma are feeling about this opinion. Quote, what bothers me about this editorial is the way it equates Pritzker's role with Noem's. These are not comparable actions. Noem deliberately exploited Emma's death for political theater, staging a press conference at the crime scene against her family's wishes. Everybody got that? That's what happened. Continuing on. This is what Susan Phillips wrote. That's opportunism, plain and simple. By contrast, Pritzker's stance, whether you agree with all his policies or not, is rooted in ongoing governance and evidence-based approaches to violence prevention. Holding him up as if his actions are in the same category as Noem's is a false equivalence. One is cynical exploitation. The other is just part of the hard, imperfect work of policymaking. When the Tribune, this is continuing, when the Tribune collapses those very different realities into a both sides critique, it distorts the conversation and undermines the real issue, the disrespect shown to Emma's family by using her memory as a prop. I don't like her memory being used to score political points. If it was really about Emma, why bring up Pritzker at all? Unquote.
And we just want to go on the record that this is not a one-off of some, crazed Methodist pastor who's gone rogue and is saying things like this. This is church policy. This is the policy of the church that we attend. And we know we have lots of atheist listeners, and we love you all. And we think that if you ignore the quotation of Scripture, you can agree with the principles at stake here and be an ally in the principles that they're trying to follow. So this is from the December 2024 United Methodist Council of Bishops pastoral letter addressing the plight of migrants, immigrants, and refugees. Quote, Jesus said, when you welcome the stranger, you welcome me. That's Matthew 25:35. At no time has the church in the U.S. had a greater opportunity to welcome Jesus among us as he journeys with migrants, immigrants, and refugees than today. We, your bishops, are clear that the situation these beloved of God face as the Trump administration comes to power threatens their humanity, livelihood, and basic human rights. For decades, a broken immigration system in the U.S. has kept migrants, immigrants, and refugees in this country living in the shadows of society in a state of perpetual fear. They've come to the U.S. under forced circumstances, fleeing extreme poverty, hunger, political and religious persecution, war, cartel, and gang violence, and the severe impact of climate change. Some are actively recruited by large U.S. companies who need their labor. Yet migrants, immigrants, and refugees help to sustain the U.S. economy, serve our families, caring for our children and our elderly, cleaning our homes, landscaping our properties, building our roads and the houses we live in, and cultivating and picking the crops that feed our families. They are our neighbors, our friends, and members and pastors of our church. Deplorably racist, xenophobic, nationalistic, and anti-migrant hate speech has become standard rhetoric for many U.S. politicians, including President-elect Trump. He has stated that under his administration, he will order the mass deportation of the 11 million undocumented migrants who live and work in the United States. He has threatened to use the military and law enforcement at all levels for this mass deportation, and he's doing it. If allowed, this mass deportation of migrants will cause further racial profiling. Oh my God, is that timely? The separation of families, the undermining of communities and congregations, the weakening of the economy of this country and its democratic systems of law and justice. President-elect Trump has also threatened to end birthright citizenship, dismantle refugee resettlement in this country, and further strip away the possibility of the U.S. welcoming asylum seekers into this land. We are living in a dark time that more than ever calls us to be the light of Christ, people of faith who take our baptismal vow to resist evil in all its forms with utmost seriousness. As United Methodists, we have firmly declared through our social principles that we are called to actively welcome the migrant, immigrant, and refugee among us, unquote.
Oh, curse those troublemaking Methodist driftglass.
Yeah.
How dare they factually state that Donald Trump is a racist scumbag?
Damn them. Damn them to
based
hell.
on his policies, based on the signs at his convention, nominating convention.
Yeah. And all the
based
people
on
voted,
his personnel in his cabinet.
And all the people that voted for him to do all the things he's now doing.
Yeah. So, Driftglass, let's review our Both Sides Do It journey.
Yes, shall we?
It has taken us from a minor local media person to the editorial board of the Chicago Tribune. So, following that trajectory, where do you suppose it will take us next? If you guessed the apex of the legacy media, the senior conservative columnist on the editorial page of the New York fucking Times, you'd win all the prizes.
Yay!
Take it away, Driftglass.
Good God. Yeah.
I'm afraid he has to talk about David Brooks, but just a little bit.
Just a little bit. I promised my wife. Just a little bit. I wrote a long-ass thing about this. If you're interested
if you need more David Brooks, you can always go to Driftglass's blog.
If you want to know why David Brooks has thought for 30 years that the Republican Party is just one stern talking to away from unleashing their inner Dwight Eisenhower, you may visit my blog and I will tell all. I will detail the entire history of David Brooks as a lying, myopic scumbag.
If he was just typing this on rice paper while sitting on the toilet.
Yeah.
And saving it in his basement, that'd be one thing. But he gets paid a lot of money to shovel this shit.
He does. And it's the same fucking column he's been writing for 30 years.
Yeah.
It's the same column. It doesn't matter what happens. It literally doesn't matter how bad the Republican Party gets. This is from David Brooks just a few days ago. The headline explains it all. Quote, why I'm not a liberal. okay, my party is a fascist shithole full of crazy people who want to destroy America, but I can't be a liberal. And you know why? Quote, I don't think the left grasps reality in all its fullness, unquote. Now I'm going to read you the entire article in one sentence. Yada, 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 a study which Brooks misrepresents wildly. Yada, yada, Dostoevsky, I'm not kidding. Irving Kristol, Karl Marx. Yes, we're playing all the hits, kids, all the hits today. And here's Brooks again, quote, today, most of our problems are moral, relational, and spiritual more than they are economic, unquote. First of all, okay, whatever, dude. Secondly, have you been to Susan Phillips' church and heard her preach on moral, relational, and spiritual shit? Because we do this stuff all the time. You just can't hear it because you fucking hate liberals for a living. So you can't possibly agree with what we say, because then you'd be out of a fucking job. This is being said by the notoriously clueless multimillionaire with the single most feather-bedding job ever conceived by the mind of man, in what I believe is the 500th or 1,000th or 10,000th consecutive both sides do it column he has written for the past 25 goddamn years.
Yep.
Where do you suppose all of this both sides do it poison comes from? It comes from the top. It comes from the legacy media. It comes from David Brooks, and it filters down to the Chicago Tribune, and it comes then to the Springfield Journal, the State Journal Register, where they do this shit all the time, and then to local media people who feel constrained to take sides against monstrous fascist policies because their job says they can't do that. And then at last, on Brooks's column, we arrive here, quote, I've been driven away from the right over the past decade. Yeah, because before that, they were just fucking wonderful. Right, David?
Right.
But I can't join the left because I just don't think that tradition of thought grasps reality in all of its fullness, says the man who's been wrong about everything his entire fucking career. I wish both left and right could embrace the more complex truth, Blue Gal, unquote. Which, when you think about it, in this case, actually works out great, because speaking, as I do for all liberals everywhere throughout all time and space, words alone cannot express my gratitude that David Brooks is not on.
Yep. And listener Charles wrote to us about this column to tell us that, heads up, there are 715 comments at David Brooks's post on why I'm not a liberal, and it looks like the New York Times has shut down the comment section.
Yeah.
Two of the comments that Charles thought were good. One said, they were both simple. One said, told Brooks to refer to the Maslow hierarchy of needs.
Yeah.
And another said, hungry people don't have time to read Edmund Burke.
Yeah. Oh, he got raked for this. And the thing is, this is the thing that has changed but not changed. Yeah. He gets shredded for this all the time. He gets shredded for his stupid sandwich column. He gets shredded for his, getting drunk at an airport and saying, this is why the economy sucks, why people think the economy sucks.
Yeah, when he had two Manhattans.
You had like 3 or 4 shots of top shelf whiskey.
Yeah,
and and the restaurant produced the bill.
Yes,
and so the reason your bill was $74 is because you drank a lot of top shelf booze.
You had 2 $40 drinks there at the airport.
But there he is sitting in the airport, and his first thought is, how can I turn this into at least a post or a column?
Yeah.
About why America is fucked up because liberals let everything run wild. Mm-hmm. Oh, look, I paid a lot for this muffler. Hey, look, it must be the fault of the liberals. This is why Americans don't trust the Democrats.
And Americans do trust the Democrats to go look up the online menu for the restaurant he was eating at. Mm-hmm. And finding out that, like airport food, is expensive. His burger was like $18 or $19.
Yeah. But
then the rest of his bill was booze.
Because I guess if you're Brooks and you have to live with yourself, you drink a lot.
You drink a lot. Yeah, and on the company expense account,
right?
The
New York Times will pick that up. Yeah, the New York Times sent him on a... Remember when he was divorced?
Yeah.
And wouldn't admit that he was divorced and wouldn't admit that marriage was anything other than a holy institution that poor people should be doing, but not him, of course. And was writing these sad bastard columns.
Absolutely. About walking by a ballet school and seeing ballerinas and feeling sad.
Or just like, what? I'm in a hotel and here's what's next to me on the table. And I walk through a lot. I'm like, holy shit. And then he lied about not being divorced. And I noticed he wasn't wearing his ring. And none of his colleagues mentioned the fact that, hey, Mr. Everyone should be married. Are you still married? until he broke loose with that. But the New York Times sent him on a luxury vacation to report on what do rich people do on luxury vacation.
On luxury cruises that have only 35 people on the ship. Yeah.
Oh, no. It was luxury aircraft. It was luxury ship. It was
He got
top
to go on a
flight
big
everything.
old cruise through the Mediterranean. And
Hey, David, go on this luxury cruise.
On it.
And report on how things are, because you're divorced and you're sad and you're embarrassing us, because people are catching on to the fact that you basically fucked up your marriage and don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But the thing that has changed is that he does write this shit now, and immediately there are people glomming onto him going, this is everything that's wrong. They're doing what I used to be one of the only 4 people in the world that would do, which is taking apart what he says brick by brick, fact by fact, and showing how completely wrong he is and how he changed his mind again, how he won't admit that he's wrong and blah, blah, blah. This happens hundreds of times now on social media. So you know what? People are not being nice anymore, Blue Gal.
Mm-hmm.
They are taking out the trash. It's just the trash refuses to move because the New York Times editorial board won't get rid of it.
Because there's so much money in it.
Yeah.
And a couple things I wanted to add to this. One is David Brooks is not the only moral scold who's a total hypocrite. In fact, this week, I think it was last night, a Fox show did an entire segment on why don't young people prioritize marriage and family? And, young MAGA men prioritize wanting to have children at the top of their list and marriage as number 4, which I want to know all about that, right? Children are 1 and marriage is 4. Mm-hmm. Really? But liberal men, it's 19 and 20 in their priority list to have a family and get married. And it was Charlie Kirk on the Laura Ingraham show. Laura Ingraham, who is 62 and has never been married and is married to her job. And Charlie Kirk is sitting there telling her, women have to understand that they can have their career after they've raised their children. And prioritize that. Prioritize having children when you're young. That's the important thing to do. Laura Ingraham adopted kids in her 40s and never got married. Mm-hmm. Not that there's anything wrong with those choices, but she's a fucking hypocrite. And the other thing I just want to point out to folks is this thing with the letter, the birthday letter to Epstein that came out this week. Donald Trump lied to his vice president.
Yes, he did.
And, at some point, the lies just apparently don't matter anymore. And we're just going to cover for this monster forever.
Mm-hmm. We have to.
And we're gonna make it my mistake. I said he was an FBI informant, and I made a mistake. It's my mistake. So put all the guilt on me for that, says Mike Johnson.
You know what? He forgot armed robbery was illegal, Blue Gal.
Well, and it can't be illegal when the president does it. Right. The old Nixon line to David Frost, right?
Now that you've kicked me off, or kicked this off in my mind, I wanted to look up one other moral scold. If you don't mind sharing,
sure.
I want to share this with you. I went to look because I commented on Blue Sky that one of the reasons they've taken, I think, Mona Charen off the main line at the Bulwark, and they've sort of, she still has a podcast there that nobody listens to.
Oh, okay.
But she's not in the regular main rotation because all that I fucking hate liberal wiring is still in her head and she can't control herself. She can't go one podcast without just seething hatred for the left and all of our terrible priorities. So in my timeline...
And that doesn't work with the Bulwark.
Well...
To say all Democrats are evil and we must stop them at every expense to our souls.
Well, let me give you an example.
Okay.
This popped into my timeline. I didn't read the whole thing. I just saw the thing. On the Mona Charen show, Mona Charen says, Brad Wilcox joins her and saying, progressives and Democrats have had a difficult time both articulating a positive view of masculinity and a vision that appeals to men. So I was like, really? So we can't articulate positive views of masculinity. Have you met Barack Obama? Mm-hmm. Have you met any of the people that we have in our party who are radiating? Have you met J.B. Pritzker? Do you know any of these people at all?
Gavin Newsom.
And then it sort of dawned on me, the reason that they've taken her off the main line is if you start dissing constantly dissing progressives and Democrats. This is why they're failing, because they don't talk to men. They don't know what men want or blah, 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 blah. There's a risk that progressives and Democrats will take the hint that they're not welcome with the Bulwark.
Right.
And maybe they don't subscribe.
And that might affect the Bulwark's bottom line.
And suddenly they lose 4/5 of their readers because right below the surface are a whole bunch of people who really don't like you and never will like you and really just want you to shut up and agree that we should become Republican-light.
Let them run your party.
Right.
Yeah.
And Mona Charen is top of that list, and it's always this finger-wagging moral scold shit, and that they can't help themselves. Anyway, on that happy note.
There are a lot of very virile, manly men who get a lot of hoo-ha in their lifetime because they treat women with respect.
This is our podcast, and we can say pussy here. If you
we can say, I just don't want to say it that way because I'm respectful of women making choices about who they're with.
Mm-hmm.
But, men who can find dates because they treat women as if they are human beings.
Right.
And not broodmares.
Right.
Or servants.
Yeah.
It's not that complicated.
And there's a certain thing, speaking as men, I spoke for all liberals throughout time and space. I will now speak for all men throughout time and space. That there's a certain period of time that most boys go through when either they become raging assholes.
Yeah.
Or they're the nice guy who can't figure out why the pretty girls want to date the raging assholes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then everybody grows up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they realize, maybe the assholes are just assholes. And maybe the nice guys are like, this could be interesting too. Let's give them a try. Let's give them a spin around them. And I think that the men who are getting caught in this bubble of gotta find a woman. Yeah. And the answer is, listen to more Joe Rogan.
Right. Right.
And that'll get
well, and plus, their core dating time was interrupted by COVID.
It was,
which is horrible.
Absolutely.
And there aren't the kind of entry level jobs for anyone in their age cohort.
Absolutely.
That lead to the money to date, the self-respect to date. Mm-hmm. It just isn't easy to go out and get a date if you work at a gas station, if you work, if you're volunteering part-time at the ASPCA and working at Taco Bell for $17 an hour, but living in your mom's basement because you can't afford an apartment.
Right.
I mean, all of that is, and I'm sorry, but Donald Trump's neo-Nazi apprenticeship.gov with the AI Aryan youth on them isn't going to help.
Well, and that's the thing. There are enormous numbers of positive role models, people who I could take you to in Chicago right now who are former gang members who do gang interruption.
Right. And this is what J.B. Pritzker and the mayor of Chicago are talking about when they say, look, we have anti-crime programs and violence reduction and helping people deal with, get justice for domestic violence and safety and so forth.
And if you want to help us, you could help fund those programs so we can expand those programs. Right.
Yeah.
But no, we just need to find them and lock them up and wherever they are and kick their door down.
We need military action to spark a race riot for Fox. That's what Stephen Miller's trying to do.
Right. There's that toxic Stephen Miller, macho, kick doors down, terrified, weak people version of masculinity.
Yeah.
And that is and it's a cheap and easy high. It's a cheap and easy message.
Yep. Yep.
And the message that the left and progressives and liberals, and I think people like me and people like us and couples like us and all the progressive couples we know have really, really good relationships with their spouse and with their kids and radiate that sort of thing. Our church is full of positive male role models. It's just that they do not get onto Fox to scream about, how the 10 tricks, the 10 macho tricks, the 10 supplements you need to get a girl.
Right.
And that is, again, it's the size of the megaphone that we have. We're not able to outshout the Mona Charens of the world, and we should be.
Well, I hope that during the process of nominating a Democrat to be president of the United States in 2028, this topic comes up, and that these male role models, because as I've said to Bob Seska and I'm sad, but resigned to the fact that the lesson the Democratic Party learned from 2024 is we need a white guy at the top of the ticket.
Yeah.
And so that's having a Democrat in the White House is important enough to me to go, all right, suffer it to be so now. This is the message that they've gotten, and that's the margin. Mm-hmm. That's the margin that is needed to win right now. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I hope those white men come out and talk like Driftglass.
Well,
and use the word pussy if they need to.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, that's the, well, this is a different topic for a different day. So let's just go to our, the sidetrack I was about to take us on will take us about 4 hours to cover. So let's steer back.
But I do want to finish up by saying, this is what I mean by not being nice and take out the trash.
Exactly.
They need to go on Joe Rogan and tell him he's an asshole.
Yeah.
And tell him he's setting back heterosexual relationships with his bullshit. Yeah. Man to man. Yeah, I'm telling you, man to man.
Yeah. Well, then, the step one is to get invited onto Joe Rogan to do that.
Yeah. Well, and if you can't get invited on Joe Rogan, make Joe Rogan the story for 3 days, and then you will be invited on. And I think that's something that Trump knows that a lot of Democrats don't, which is if you say it and if you make it the story, it's the story because the mainstream media is stupid. And you can lead them around by the nose. Yep.
All right.
Enough said. Time for a news roundup. This is an exchange between Trump spokesmodel, stupid head Barbie Caroline Leavitt, and reporters. Question. You said the Epstein documents are a hoax. So what is the theory? Since these documents, including the birthday letter, came from the Epstein estate. Leavitt. I did not say the documents are a hoax. I said the entire narrative surrounding Jeffrey Epstein right now is a hoax that is being perpetuated by opportunistic Democrats like Ro Khanna. Question. What exactly is the hoax? I'm just trying to understand. What's fake? Leavitt. The hoax is Democrats pretending to care about victims of crime. It is a distraction. Unquote.
So, is Carolyn Leavitt and Kristi Noem the positive image of womanhood that Republicans are,
every woman that enters that Oval Office is cut out of the same cloth.
Yeah.
And I did like what Hal Sparks said this week about horrible jobs numbers coming out. What's in the Epstein files is worse. Mm-hmm. He kept going on about, there's like 11,000 documents left that were taken out of Jeffrey Epstein's home in terms of electronic equipment that had files on it, paper files, Polaroid photos, et cetera, et cetera. Everything that's there is worse than everything you've seen from Trump and the Trump administration so far.
So let's not forget the Epstein.
And by the way, the Bible lesson this week is there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed.
I think we've had enough Bible bitch for today. Let's move on to Mother Jones. The headline, the one crime Trump doesn't seem to have a problem with, domestic violence. How can this be a surprise to anyone? Quote, speaking at the Museum of the Bible on Monday, President Donald Trump repeated one of his favorite falsehoods as of late, that his deployment of the National Guard in Washington, D.C. had virtually eliminated crime in the nation's capital. That is, of course, not true. But if that outright falsehood was not egregious enough, consider that Trump also complained that reports of domestic violence are inflating crime statistics, and implied they should not be considered crimes at all. Quote, things that take place in the home they call crime, Trump said. They'll do anything they can to find something. If a man had a little fight with the wife, they say this was a crime. See, so now I can't claim 100% reduction in crime, unquote.
Two things. Women can't be victims of crime.
Right.
Because they're not people.
Right.
And a little fight in the home is what killed Emma Schaefer. Women get murdered by their domestic partners.
Number one suspect in every domestic abuse case.
In every case.
And it should come as no surprise to anyone that Donald Trump thinks domestic violence is just a joke. It's just stupid. Shouldn't even be a crime at all. It shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. It's a little
fight with the wife, so no.
And what sort of person do you have to be to vote for someone? This is just one monstrosity on top of an entire heap of monstrosities.
Right.
So it won't change any votes. But, look at the next Republican you see, the ones in your church, the ones that you have on the job, and go, what the fuck is going on in your head that you think this is okay? That you voted for this. Mm-hmm. And then piss in their coffee.
in front of them.
In front of them.
2 days after Republican Speaker Mike Johnson said that Donald Trump was involved with the Epstein files only because he was an FBI informant. Let that sink in. The New Republic now reports, quote, Mike Johnson admits his claim on Trump and Epstein was total nonsense. The House Speaker is suddenly changing his tune after a bizarre defense of Trump on the Epstein case, unquote. And my favorite Blue Sky post of the week was a video of Mike Johnson saying, these cities should just let the National Guard come in and clean up the crime. What's the big problem here? And the respondent said, lie back and think of America.
Yeah. Codename, John Barron. Over the weekend, Mehdi Hassan said this on social media. So we'll play a little game of why did he say it, Blue Gal? Quote, we are governed by some of the dumbest people in the history of this country. Proudly, unashamedly, openly moronic and ignorant, and I'm genuinely not sure how the U.S. ever recovers from them. These people make George W. Bush and Sarah Palin look like savants, unquote. So, what prompted this outburst? This is from an official press release by the United States Department of Energy. Quote, wind and solar energy infrastructure is essentially worthless when it's dark outside and the wind is not blowing, unquote.
It really is a contest to see who the biggest idiot in the Trump cabinet is. And at the moment, this guy is winning.
Yeah, Chris Wright is ahead by a nose or a blade
ahead by a nose.
Something.
Yep.
By a ray of sunshine. This was from the desk of, yes, Trump's Energy Secretary Chris Wright, about whom more here from the New York Times. Quote, Energy Secretary Chris Wright on Friday defended the Trump administration's decision to block a nearly completed $6.2 billion wind farm off the coast of Rhode Island by saying offshore wind increases electricity prices and by downplaying the jobs at stake. Energy experts accuse Mr. Wright of oversimplifying the economics of offshore wind energy, noting that while it requires a significant amount of upfront capital to build a project, like any other project you're building.
You mean like a Trump Tower or a casino?
A casino, a nuclear plant, an oil refinery, they all require a lot of upfront money. Mm-hmm. It was expected to create more than 55,000 jobs by the end of the decade and enough electricity to inexpensively power 22 million homes before the Trump administration took steps to throttle the nascent industry. Sidebar, doesn't this remind you of Ronald Reagan ripping the solar panels off the White House?
Mm-hmm. That Jimmy Carter put there. Yep.
Back to the article. No surprise that Mr. Wright is a former fracking executive.
Oh, my God.
Who said the focus in the U.S., the United States, to transition away from fossil fuels had hurt the country. Oh, it hurt the country. Country hurt. Show us on the country where it hurt you, Mr. Wright. He called the 2015 Paris Agreement, in which the U.S. and nearly every other country pledged to reduce greenhouse gases, silly. Climate change for impacting the quality of your life is not incredibly important, Mr. Wright said. In fact, if it wasn't in the news, in the media, you wouldn't know, unquote. In fact, unless you look at the X-ray showing you have cancer, you wouldn't even know you have cancer.
You wouldn't even know you had cancer.
And so cancer's not a problem, obviously. This is as one with Trump saying, don't count the COVID victims on the boat because that'll make my numbers look bad.
I'm going to make reality bend to my will to make me look good.
By lying about numbers.
And
when the numbers don't look good, I'm going to fire the people who do the math and hire people who will do this shit.
And this is why I really think the Democratic Party needs to form a corporation that can sue Fox.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way to stop them is corporations can sue. Yeah. And people who are defamed can sue as a class action. And by the way, Trump continually appealed his $83 million defamation verdict in the E. Jean Carroll case. And this week, that those efforts failed, and he has to pay her $83.3 million. Not for raping her, but for by lying about it.
And then lying about again.
And then lying about it. So, there are ways to get at these bozos. But I think it's going to have to stop Fox from continuing this brainwashing. You're going to have to get a class action lawsuit of people who've lost their parents, had to go no contact with their parents because their parents were brainwashed. And do discovery in court in the brainwashing techniques of Fox News. That's my opinion. Now, if you have sticky memories like we do, you might remember this headline in The Hill from October of 2024, just weeks before the election, quote, Kamala's newest lie, Trump will send the army after you, unquote, which of course he is doing.
Exactly.
This was written by the Hill contributor Derek Hunter, who is a standard issue lying conservative scumbag who has his own podcast and, of course, his own book about how liberals ruined everything. He guest hosted the Rush Limbaugh show and wrote for the most of the usual right-wing garbage sites.
Yeah, he's just one of many of them. And here's the thing about these standard issue lying Republican scumbags, whether they have columns in the Hill or for the Federalist Society or just your neighbors and colleagues who are that screwed up in the head. Saturation bombing them with facts doesn't work. It isn't like shooting fish in a barrel. It's like shooting a holographic fish in a barrel. Fish that aren't really there, that just disappear and keep reappearing. Once Republicans have renounced reason in favor of rage and racism and have renounced facts in favor of lies and paranoia, the politics of America changed radically and irrevocably. At this point, Republicans are basically video game bosses that just keep respawning themselves no matter how many times you hit them with facts. It doesn't matter to them. It doesn't matter. So every time you say, yeah, but, put it in check. Now, if you want to take out the trash and stop being nice, go for it. But stop trying to reason with people who've told you to your face they don't believe in reason anymore. This is from Boing Boing. And I love this story for all the wrong reasons, Blue Gal. Quote, having milked the promise for all it's worth, Tesla abandons autonomous driving. Yeah. Tesla, made famous by selling a full self-driving car, is now dropping the autonomous part, and FSD simply means supervised by the driver. Valued on the stock market more like a meme coin than an automaker, Tesla is quietly backing away from its most significant, most profitable promise. Because promises don't matter to these. Perhaps all the people who paid for the prior version of FSD will receive a refund or sue, unquote.
And finally, since we live in farm country, this from BuzzFeed, quote, people have little sympathy for the Arkansas farmers who are asking Trump for emergency funding to save their farms. On Tuesday, hundreds of farmers from across the state gathered before representatives to voice their concerns and ask for help amid terrible markets, higher input costs, and tariffs. Many emphasized the direness of the situation, with one farmer saying, I have never been as worried as I am now about whether or not my kids and grandkids will be able to carry on. One person shared a fervent prayer. Farmers, in my opinion, dear Lord, they're closer to you than anyone else on this earth because we deal with your earth every day. Dear Lord, we're hurting, dear Lord. We can't help what's happened to us. We need help, dear Lord. Another farmer called tariffs the ice cream on the cake of a perfect storm. They continued, in the short term, they have no choice but to mail us a check.
Like
I don't know.
Like last time.
Just like last time. When you voted for him that time too?
And he fucked up your markets and he had to mail you...
he mailed you a bribe. He did. I don't know if from the taxpayers, it wasn't out of his pocket. I don't know a farmer that likes the check program, which you're familiar with. Nobody wants to take the taxpayer dollars, but nobody wants to go broke. Nobody wants to lose everything. Long term, we have to have options markets and places to sell our product. And like many websites, BuzzFeed milked the Reddit community for content, and here's how it was. The Reddit community was less than sympathetic. Wait till they find out about the potential closures of rural hospitals and cutbacks on food stamps and anything else that supports the poor and working poor. This is a perfect leopards ate my face post because these people still believe Trump cares about them. He got their vote, and just like any con man that gets your money, he doesn't need you anymore.
Next quote. Yup. They live off the backs of tax dollars paid by hardworking liberals in blue states. And then they vote Republicans into power who make everyone's lives worse. And then they beg for more money.
Maybe the Republican governor of Arkansas could help him out.
That'd be great. Maybe he should do that.
Sarah Huckabee Sanders is right there.
And she's great at praying for things like her daddy. So maybe she can get down on her knees and,
Maybe her daddy, who's ambassador to Israel, could get Bibi Netanyahu to come and save your farm. This is another one from Reddit. This is a perfect example of why the Dems are cooked if they don't change their playbook. They keep trying to appeal with reason. Here's a constituency that is literally in danger of losing their entire livelihoods due directly to Republican policies. and still they're afraid to go against the party or say anything bad. To them, these bad things are just things that are happening, totally unrelated to who they keep voting into power.
Yeah. And the irony is, for me, these are farmers. They put a seed corn in the ground and seed grows.
Yeah.
They put soybean seeds in the ground, soybean grows. You put Trump's awful, bigoted, racist, crackpot economic bullshit in the ground. And guess what grew? The crop that you fucking planted.
Yep.
The next quote, yet they lose their fucking minds about student loan forgiveness. Don't they just?
And finally, God forbid anyone else get help from the government. Yeah. You're going to have to write us a check.
You have to. You just have to.
We're white males and conservatives and farmers. So, yeah. Hey, feel free to write to both of us at proleftpodcast@gmail.com. We love hearing from you. Be aware that if you write to us at any of our addresses, we reserve the right to read your email or U.S. Postal Service, Go Postal Unions, letter on the air unless you say otherwise.
And please share our show on social media. And if you love this podcast, please get someone else to listen to it too if it's within your power. And thank you for doing that.
Hey, Driftglass, how are the Internet Kitties doing this week?
Well, Blue Gal, the Internet Kitties are looking forward to Halloween where they can dress up like Arkansas farmers and demand Democrats give them money.
Let's think about living. Think about living. Just think about loving. Think about loving. Just think about the hooping and the hopping and the popping and the loving, lovey-dovey. Let's forget about the wine and the crying, the shooting and the dying and the fellow with the switchblade knife. Let's think about living. Let's think about life.
The Professional Left podcast is recorded under a Creative Commons license. Copyright 2024-25, GGBG Productions.